Branos for the Coach Speak Index. What's up? What is going on out there? Oh, man. Probably thinking, wow. Greg looks and sounds very happy today. What's going on there? Let's get to the bottom of this. Is it because he's wearing his favorite jacket? That's got to be it, right? That's the only reason why someone would get so happy if they're wearing their favorite jacket. That's probably it. No. I do like this jacket. I do feel better when I'm wearing it. But that's not the entire reason. Oh, you know what? It must be because a new season of Slow Horses is on Apple TV. That's got to be it. No, not quite. Getting warmer. Oh, you know, I bet you Greg tried a new French pastry for the first time, and it probably changed his life a little bit. And well, it's kind of true. That's not the reason though why I'm so happy right now. And it was a good pastry, let me tell you that. But the reason why I am so happy right now is probably the same reason that you are so happy right now. And that is because NFL football is so back for many more weeks of our lives right now. We have regular season NFL football. Then we're going to have the playoffs. And then we're going to do this whole cycle all over again. NFL draft. After the combine, we have those owners meetings to look forward to. My God, what a week that is. Then we have another training camp of hype and guesswork. And then another regular season. Incredible. I love it. You know what else I love? I love a free pick. And on Underdog Fantasy right now, you can get a CeeDee Lamb free pick'em. Make sure that if you already have an Underdog account, you take advantage of that. Don't let that slip through. If you don't already have an account with Underdog, well, not only can you get that free CeeDee Lamb pick when you sign up, you get an additional free pick. And you can get a first-time deposit. Offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you use the promo code CoachSpeak. I'm pointing to it right now. If you're watching on video, it's right. Do the Vanna White thing right there. There we go. Promo code CoachSpeak will get you up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Pretty cool. Before we get into Coach Speak clips, let's run down some injuries real quick. And these are just injuries that we have gotten some actionable Coach Speak on, so I can give you some reliability rating percentages here. Start off with, this was last week, end of last week, Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin was asked if there are any long-term concerns about Russell Wilson's calf. He said none. Tomlin has a 70% reliability rating on Injury Coach Speak, which is okay. It's kind of bordering on that danger zone, 65% that we don't love. It's also possible that Russell Wilson, comes back from this calf injury and finds himself sitting on the bench. We shall see. Seattle Seahawks head coach Mike McDonald was asked whether Kenneth Walker is okay. He's dealing with an abdomen injury. McDonald said, "We think so. Got a little bit of a muscle thing. We'll figure it out moving forward, but optimistic." We do not have any data for Mike McDonald because he is a brand new head coach. So we are going to have to just see how that reliability rating for him turns out. Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski called tight end David Njoku week to week with an ankle injury. I believe it was classified as a high ankle sprain. Stefanski has a 90% reliability rating on injury coach speak. In 2022, when Njoku suffered a high ankle sprain, Stefanski called him week to week, and Njoku returned 4 weeks later. Bears head coach Matt Eberflus was asked about Rome Odunze's status. Rome Odunze hurt his knee in the season opener. Eberflus said, "It's day to day. We're in a good spot. It's nothing serious, and we're in a good spot for it." Eberflus has a 60% reliability rating on injury coach speak, and his day-to-day labels are particularly unreliable. Those players often return 2 and 3 weeks later. Last one, Tennessee Titans head coach Brian Callahan on DeAndre Hopkins' expected snap count after he only played 17 offensive snaps in the season opener, dealing with a knee. Callahan said, "Likely to be closer to full. Still be mindful of what we're asking as he gets in shape and starts to feel better and better. But yeah, I see his role increasing." All right. And he is also a new head coach, so we don't have data on him yet. Or is it data? We don't have data on him. Or data. We don't have data or data on Brian Callahan yet. Let's get into the running backs. Okay, dokie. I'm a little bit under the weather today, as you can probably hear me gasping for breath like a pug. But we'll work through it. All right, running backs. Detroit Lions. This was before the season opener. Here's a clip of head coach Dan Campbell talking about running back David Montgomery.
It feels like when we talk about the best running backs in the league, David Montgomery is often kind of tier 2, maybe a little overlooked in that top 5, 7 range. What is it about him that you love, and what could he do to kind of catapult himself into that next conversation?
Yeah, well, I would say that could be it outside this building, not in this building. I mean, that guy, for us offensively, we know the value he brings for us. I mean, this guy is a legit back in this league, and it's that he can do it all. I mean, that's what makes him what he is. I mean, man, the way he works, he's all business. You talk about urgency and preparing to play. The way he practices, the way he studies, and then every day, I mean, he's the same guy every day out at practice, you know. He works his craft. He gives you all he's got. He finishes every run. He works on protection. He's just gotten better and better, and he's a workhorse, you know. I mean, he's a workhorse. He's going to be there when you need him the most. He's a guy who can finish games out for you. He can start the game out and give you the tempo you need and the demeanor, set the tone, and then he can finish it out for you as well. So, I think, you know, for me and for this offense, you got to have two backs that you need a Demo and you need a Gibbs. And if you got that, man, you're cooking with gas.
David Montgomery can start games out for you. He can finish games out for you. And that's exactly what he did in week 1. Exactly what Dan Campbell was just talking about. What David Montgomery can do for your team is what happened. He started the game out, ended up with 18 touches for 93 yards and a touchdown. He closed the game out in overtime. They just handed him the ball. Dan Campbell said in another presser this week that he just knew when they handed the ball off to Montgomery the first time in overtime. He said that's it. He saw what Montgomery did on that run, how they had worn the Rams down in the run game, and Montgomery reeled off several chunk runs and then ended up scoring to seal the game. Here is a clip of Dan Campbell after the season opener talking about David Montgomery.
Felt like an appropriate performance for David Montgomery given the conversation we had last week. The way he finished that game, how much of that is him, his style running gets stronger as the game goes on? How much is it that you can maybe manage or balance his workload with a guy like Gibbs also on the roster?
Yeah, I mean, look, that's going to help, and I do believe in that, having that 1-2 punch of two different backs, but I just, look, I said it after we ran the conditioning test, and whatever that was, July 26th, I guess, the day before we started our first practice, and man, you talk about a guy who was in outstanding shape. Look, all of our guys were, but this guy just looked, he looked like he didn't break a sweat for this thing. And then the first few days of practice, he doesn't look fatigued. And so he's in unbelievable shape. He's worked extremely hard, and he's just, man, he's reliable. He's reliable. He runs heavy. He's tough, he's physical, he gets in a rhythm, and I think he's a catalyst for us, He starts carrying it, and he gets better and better, and I think the line feeds off of him, and he feeds off of them, and we get what we get. So that guy's a stud. He's a stud.
That guy's a stud. He's not going away, all right? People thought last year, well, they drafted Zamir Gibbs real high. So that's it for David Montgomery, right? Not the case. Not the case. They love that 1-2 punch. And Montgomery's still going to get a lot of usage. Let us head over to Chicago. This is head coach Matt Eberflus before the season opener talking about DeAndre Swift.
Matt, in free agency, DeAndre Swift was the first big acquisition you guys made. Why was he such a high priority for the backfield?
Yeah, just the home run threat. We wanted a home run threat in there. We wanted to have a weapon back there that can do a lot of things, not only on first down in the run game, hit a home run, or in the passing game, also do that. So we're excited about where he is, and we're excited about the whole group. The group's going to be good. It's a good group, and it's going to be fun to watch them.
Do you see kind of a shift in philosophy just from what you had the first 2 years, kind of going by committee there, and also having a quarterback who added a lot to the run game, to what it's going to look like now with DeAndre? Is that
Yeah, I think you have to shift a little bit philosophy-wise, because you gear it towards the talent, right? You gear it towards what's there, in terms of what they can do and what they do well. So I think you're always doing that. So in terms of saying a shift in philosophy, yeah, potentially, for sure.
Okay, so maybe moving away from the hot hand philosophy that Matt Eberflus enjoyed last season. DeAndre Swift played on 70% of offensive snaps in week 1 and ended with 30 rushing yards on 10 attempts, 0 receptions on 1 target. Not great, but the Chicago offense as a whole was not great that first game. Can't imagine they have too many more games like that. But, you know what? We'll see. The classic refrain. We'll see. How about Tampa Bay? Why don't we here. This is before the season opener. Offensive coordinator Liam Cohen talking about the running back rotation there.
How do you plan on rotating the running backs? I mean, we know that, obviously Rashad touched it 330-something times last year. Maybe you don't want that much of a little bit, but you've got two other guys that were really productive. So would you go strictly with a hot hand, or how do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, we want to obviously get guys involved, but Rashad's the guy. He's going to start the game, and he's going to keep playing, and Bucky will get his specific stuff and be able to play. And when Sean needs to go in there and give those guys a blow, he'll do a great job as well. We have full trust in all three of those guys. And ultimately, it's a long season, so it's hard to I've done 3-back rotations in the past, and, man, that gets exhausting for a coach, for a play caller, because now it's like, all right, who's in the game? What are they good at? What do you want to do with them? Ultimately, man, it's Rashad's show, and Bucky and Sean are going to get a lot of work and hopefully be efficient and do a great job when they're in there.
Rashad's show. Rashad White played 70% of offensive snaps in the season opener. Bucky Irving, 31%. And, man, did Sean Tucker... I don't think Sean Tucker even got a single snap in that game offensively. Before we talk about the performances from that game, let's hear from head coach Todd Bowles after the game, talking about Bucky Irving.
What'd you see from Bucky Irving, Coach?
Buck's a ball player. His height and his size does not tell you, does not magnify how good he is as a running back. He can run up the middle. He can catch the ball. He's tough. He finishes runs. He's very good making the first guy miss in the hole, and he had a heck of a ball game.
All true. All true, Todd. One more clip from Todd Bowles talking about the running back rotation, then we will discuss that backfield real quick.
You watched Bucky Irving. We talked about how he looked in the preseason. Certainly had a good first game. You're not getting a lot of yards per carry from Rashad. This is his third season. At what point does the eyeball test just tell you, hey, this guy could be our better back right now?
The eyeball test tells me that both of them, we're going to need both of them this season, and the hole's got to be there for Rashad at the same time. It opened up later in the game for Bucky, but that doesn't mean Rashad is playing bad. Rashad had a lot of receptions, and he had some yards receiving-wise, so it kind of worked out for us and had a good 1-2 punch. We'll need both of them the whole season.
Yeah, Rashad White, 6 catches on 6 targets for 75 yards. Then he had 31 yards rushing on 15 attempts. Bucky Irving, 62 rushing yards on 9 attempts, and added 14 yards through the air with 2 receptions there. But this is just what's going to keep happening is they're going to use Rashad White in the passing game, and he's also going to get a bunch of touches in the running game. This is how it's going to go. People think Bucky Irving is going to take over this job. It's just not very likely. Everything worked out really well for Bucky Irving in this game because the Bucs were leading, enjoyed a big lead, and that's when we saw the majority of Bucky Irving's yardage. I believe it was 42 of his 62 yards when they were up big later in the game, reeled off a 31-yard run. And when the Bucs are winning, we'll see more Bucky Irving this season. And maybe they'll win more or be winning more than a lot of people expected them to coming into the season. Offense looks pretty good. Defense, missing quite a few pieces right now. Pretty vulnerable, especially with the rate at which they blitz. If they encounter a a quarterback who can handle that, can really make them pay. But when they're behind, it's going to be even more Rachaad White than we saw on Sunday. Is 70% offensive snap share. Because they trust Rachaad White in pass protection. And Bucky Irving, not good in pass protection. So games where they're big favorites or expected to win big or things like that, Bucky Irving, usable. But Rachaad White, he's going to get that goal line work. He's going to get that third down work. It's still his show there in Tampa Bay. All right. Las Vegas might we don't need to eat the crow just yet on Zamir White, but let's maybe go ahead and put an order in to the butcher shop. Would you find crow at a butcher shop? Maybe put in an order at the power lines. And hey, we might need a crow for Greg in a few weeks or so. Maybe. We'll talk about it here. Got a couple clips. This is Antonio Pierce before the season opener talking about Zamir White.
And Zamir, tell us about him and radio. Fans I talked to on the radio, they don't know what to expect. Yeah. They saw him at the end of the year, and he was explosive, but we haven't seen him much. What can we expect from Zeus coming into this game?
Yeah, I think what we've gone to offensively with the wide zone and outside scheme in the run game, I think that's been really beneficial for him. Mm-hmm. He can hit it full throttle. If you've seen him, he's much bigger.
Yeah.
And he's still explosive. He's still in that 4-4 range, and he's going downhill. It's going to hurt, right? You really want to see Zamir from carry 15 to 20, 25. That's when it's going to be like, okay, here we go. And that's what happened last year, and that's what you saw with him. And all running backs, right? All those kind of bigger backs, explosive backs, the more they touch the ball, the better they get, especially late in the games.
Okay, 15, 20, 25 carries. He did not reach those marks. He did get 13 carries and 2 receptions, so 15 touches, but this isn't quite what Antonio Pierce was kind of predicting would happen. And Zamir White's only played, I think, like 38%. Let's check this here. Let's check this in real time. 38% of snaps offensively. Alexander Madison played 60% of snaps. And this is going to be a game script dependent thing. We knew Zamir White, early down rusher. And you know what? We'll go ahead and play this next clip that came from after the game. And got some more thoughts, and then an extra nugget from the Coach Speak Index Discord from some comments that Antonio Pierce made yesterday. But here's a clip of him earlier in the week.
Alexander Madison gave you guys a few nice plays yesterday.
Who was it?
Alexander Madison.
Okay.
What do you see from him, not only as a runner, but a guy that can catch passes out of the backfield as well?
Well, I give him a lot of credit. Baby, his wife went to labor right before the game started. For him to stay focused like that, baby boy, he was born, I believe, last night. So congrats to him. But I thought he did a heck of a job. Every time he went in there, made plays, really good job also in pass protection for us. I thought, this was one of those games. You go in the game thinking, hey, listen, a lot of Zamir White and then Alex Madison make some plays. And as we go throughout the week, we'll look at that more and more.
Is that something that could happen where it's just stick with the hot hand at the time?
No, we got to be honest. I think we're just at that point offensively. Look, if it's Devontae, if it's Zamir, if it's Brock, if it's Big Mike, Jacoby, whoever it is, man, we got to do whatever it is to score more than 10 points. That's not going to be good enough in the National Football League. We understand that. That's the frustrating part about it. When you name all these names, you're saying, well, why? Well, listen, penalties and turnovers, that's the reason why. That hurts you.
Antonio Pierce thought and expected going into this game that, yeah, we're going to hand the ball off to Zamir White, and this running game is going to get rolling, and this is the way that we envision things for the season. It's not like he had some big, change of heart beforehand or whatever. Again, this is going to be game script dependent, and they ended up, losing for a decent chunk of this game, and then pretty, fairly far behind. Later in the game, they're not huge on Zamir White's pass protection. They do love Alexander Madison's pass protection skill set. Real quick from the Discord, this is Antonio Pierce on September 11th. He said, "We have to do a better job of establishing the run game. Anyone that can help us win gets a bigger role. I thought Zamir White had some good stuff, had some big runs. Those are the kinds of runs we expect, 16, 12, 8-yard runs to get going. I've said it before, whoever can help us win, the hot hand, we will roll with that." I still think Zamir White is the much better runner. Antonio Pierce, a very reactionary kind of coach. They had problems on the first two drives, getting first downs. They had short yardage, got no push from the offensive line, and that's what Antonio Pierce attributed things to in the pressers. But you can't change the offensive line, so all right, let's bring in another back and see how things work that way. Chargers did a pretty good job of focusing on the run, which probably a lot of teams will do. Is, okay, you got Gardner Minshew at quarterback. We'll take our chances with this guy beating us. We know that you want to run the ball because that's all you talk about, is we got to establish the run. We got to get this run game going. Pretty predictable stuff. So that will make it tougher sledding for this backfield. Looking kind of ugly here. Okay. Let's head to the team that defeated the Raiders. This is the Chargers. Before the season opener, offensive coordinator Greg Roman talking about their running back rotation.
Just as far as like running back rotation, we haven't seen obviously J.K. and Gus in the preseason at all. How do you sort of approach that? Is it a feed both of them early and see who's rolling type situation? How do you sort of deal with the running back rotation?
Yeah, we don't overthink that. They're both gonna play, and whoever's got the hot hand, as I always tell them, has got the hot hand. So we're gonna go with the hot hand. And they know that, and they get that. So it's, really nothing scientific.
Does that sort of carry over to red zone snaps as well, or is Gus more of that, I guess, goal line type back because of the size? I
mean, obviously, both of them are really good in short yardage goal line situations. But I wouldn't try to pigeonhole one of them.
Was that the way you ran it in Baltimore? Similar kind of deal where whoever was
pretty much, yeah. I mean, but it's a teamwork. It's teamwork. This guy might need a blow, so boom, and then he gets hot. Ride that pony for a little while, and then boom, and then just back and forth, teamwork.
So they know what they expect.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course.
One has the edge over the other as far as catching the ball out of the backfield, or?
No, I don't think so. I think they're both really good at it. They have different styles, but both very effective. I can show, Gus has had big plays in the passing game. J.K. has as well. So, I definitely think we expect them to be able to do everything as they can. We don't want to just say, oh, no, we don't want him on that play, because then eventually the defense is going to know that as well. So we like backs that can perform multitask. So we're counting on them for every phase.
Yeah, Chargers pretty rode the hot hand, which was J.K. Dobbins. Played 58% of offensive snaps to Gus Edwards' 42%. Dobbins had 13 touches, 10 on the ground, 139 yards total, and a touchdown. And Gus Edwards had a total of 28 yards on 12 touches. And he looked pretty washed. He looked like a 29-year-old running back who benefited greatly from Lamar Jackson being in his backfield. And he no longer has that. I am still holding out hope for rookie Kamani Vidal. I don't think we see much different from Gus Edwards. I don't think he regains any sort of like real juice. I think this guy might be done. And maybe the Chargers coaching staff will recognize this. I also think it's going to be really hard for J.K. Dobbins to kind of keep this up. Looks really good around the line of scrimmage, right? When getting the ball, his vision. I mean, that's something that with the injuries, like you're not going to lose that vision, really. Still has that vision. Knew which holes to hit. Had enough burst to get through them and get to the second level and even get ahead of guys. But then we saw him getting tracked down when he was ahead of the entire defense. Kind of how he looked in Baltimore a couple years ago when he came back from another injury and burst out and then kind of doing the Greg Jennings hobbling thing. Wasn't completely hobbling here, just like really, really gassed after about 40 yards or so. I just have real doubts that that this is something that, like a pace, he'll be able to sustain throughout the season. I think by mid-season, could really see him losing that steam. So I think there are a couple pathways for Vidal. Probably Gus Edwards might be the easiest one. Definitely in the short term could be the easiest one. And, by the time the fantasy playoffs roll around, I still think Vidal could be viable. Viable Vidal, as they call him. That'd be one of the worst nicknames in football. Kamani Viable Vidal. Kamani just good enough to get on the field relative to Gus Edwards Vidal. Okay, how about New England? Surprise winners over the Bengals. Here is head coach Gerard Mayo talking about their running back, Ramondre Stevenson.
Back to just something you said on the radio about always offensively being a run-first team. Just to clarify, is that your approach to this season, or will that be your philosophy so long as you're a head coach being a run-first offense?
Yeah, one thing I would say is we're a game plan team overall. And one thing Elliot and I agreed on is that Ramondre is a very special back. He may not get all the publicity and things like that, but this is a guy that can run the ball, fall forward for 4 yards every single play, catch the ball at the backfield. Also a very smart football player. And, you want to get the ball in the hands of your best players, and I would say Ramondre is one of those.
Mayo said before the season, we want to run the ball. And he called Ramondre Stevenson, a rare special player before the season started. And they treated him like it. 28 touches, 126 yards, and a touchdown. Pretty good stuff They rode the hell out of him, and I expect that to continue throughout the season. Outlook for Ramondre Stevenson is very, very good. Okay. We got to talk about this Jacksonville backfield. What happened there? Doug Peterson, before the season, said, hey, we gotta get Tank Bigsby involved. He's too good. And we have to take some of this workload, some of this wear and tear off of Travis Etienne. And well, they did that. They definitely did that. They did it to the point that Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne split carries, 12 apiece. And Travis Etienne maybe got a little bit doghoused. He got temporarily put in the doghouse maybe a little bit because of his fumble at the goal line. But Tank Bigsby was getting work before that. And here is what Doug Peterson had to say this week after that game.
How much do you have to get rid of ETN this week to get him back? Is confidence there, or is he kind of self-motivated in that regard?
One, he's self-motivated. Two, he and I spoke even during the game Sunday and then afterwards, and I just reassured him that we're going to continue to give him the football, and I think that's the next best thing is to get him right back on that horse, as they say, and keep feeding him the ball. And I don't want him to be tentative, cautious. I still want him to attack, be aggressive, and just learn from it.
Okay. Going to continue to give him the football. Keep feeding him the ball. Get him back on that horse. Peterson has a 70% reliability rating on usage and workload coach speak. Not great, but much better when it comes to running backs. And he has been more reliable in Jacksonville than he was in Philadelphia when he was the head coach there. So that's positive. I do expect them to, keep feeding ETN. But Tank Bigsby will still be involved. This was a very good game for him. He showed them, hey, real possibility here that I am over these mental hurdles from my rookie season. He looked good in training camp. He looked good in preseason. He looked good in this season opener. So as long as he can stay away from the Looney Tunes fumbles, I think he'll be okay here. He'll definitely, okay, that's a little strong. He's very, 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 very likely to continue to see significant work. But ETN, their clear number one back, the guy that they want to get the most involved. Speaking of involvement, here is Baltimore head coach John Harbaugh telling you how involved you should expect Derrick Henry to be.
We know the run game is a big part of what you guys want to do, especially with Henry here now. Not a lot of success Thursday night. What did you see when you watched the run game?
I think it's a great point. I think it's going to be every game is going to be kind of interesting and different. I like the way the run game looked for the most part with just the running back run game. There were some plays that I'd like to see be blocked a little better, but other plays that were blocked really well. And then we rushed for 185 yards overall, and a lot of that's Lamar, but that's the formula. The formula is all the guys together. It's not just the one guy. I think we didn't bring Derrick in here to be, the guy that gets the ball 30 times a game. He's done that before, that's really not the plan. The plan is Derrick, Lamar, Mark, Isaiah, Zay, Bate, Nelly. That's kind of the plan in this offense going forward. So I think that evaluation will be best made, over the course of the season. And I'm very confident there's going to be games where Derrick's going to go for 100 plus or more, and you're going to be asking me why Isaiah only got 2 catches. That's probably going to happen during the course of the season, and that's going to be good for us. That's what we want to be. We want to be unpredictable that way. Yeah. And where does the game take us, as we get into the game?
This is going to be another very game script dependent running back, Derrick Henry. When they fell behind in the Kansas City game, it was Justice Hill that was out there. And that's going to be the Ravens this year. When they're behind, and when they're behind multiple scores, when they're behind late, when they're in 2-minute drill, all that stuff, it's going to be Justice Hill. But when they are leading, when they're assaulting away a game, that's going to be Derrick Henry. And their offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, talked about that this offseason, how when they're winning in the second half, in the fourth quarter, they want to run the ball. They want to run the hell out of the ball. So we should see Derrick Henry carries and work in those instances, maybe this week against a Raiders team that just got gashed by J.K. Dobbins, where the Ravens are very large home favorites, definitely setting up to be more of a Derrick Henry game than what we saw in the opener. If you're thinking about selling Derrick Henry, don't do it now. Wait until after this game and get something much better for him. Let's head to Los Angeles to talk about the Rams backfield situation. Seems like years ago that we were freaking out over Kyron Williams being on punt return duties. I told you, don't freak out. It's fine. It's a matter of trust. They want someone back there they can trust. This also had to do with the 53-man roster. By putting Kyron back there, they opened up another spot on their roster. And people said, no, Greg, we want to freak out. We love to freak out. It's the only way we know how to live. All right, well, Kyron Williams played on 91% of snaps in the season opener, but that was not how they anticipated the rotation to go. Not that heavy. Blake Corum, 0 offensive snaps. Ronnie Rivers, 7 offensive snaps. Here is Sean McVay talking about that.
And then when I looked at the running back snaps on offense, looks like Kyron got the bulk of the carries. Is that what you intended to do going into the game? And do you see that being the case going forward?
You know what? I think each game's going to be its own entity. It was a very unique circumstance because when we got so many of our linemen banged up, Sarah, and it limited some of the different, basically we didn't operate off anything that our game plan was. We had to truly just change in the middle of that game plan. So when there's some things that are unforeseen, you're going to go with guys that you trust and that you know. I think the way that some of the drives unfolded, where there was long breaks in between, I think that's why you saw our running back and tight end rotation reflected as such. Colby Parkinson played 69 snaps. I believe Kyron played 71 when you look at it. So want to get Ronnie a little bit more involved, want to be able to get Blake involved as well. And then, Davis and Hunter got a few snaps, but based on how the game unfolded, it was very unique for a lot of different reasons, none of which probably suit what you guys are really looking for, but that was not how we anticipated the rotation to go.
All right. Want to get Ronnie Rivers a little bit more involved. Want to be able to get Blake Corum involved as well. Sean McVay has an 80% reliability rating on usage and workload coach speak. He, along with general manager Les Snead this offseason, and even a little bit last season, expressed the desire to take some of the load and the wear and tear off of Kyron Williams. But you hear his explanations there about the offensive line. Having a running back in the backfield that they can trust in pass protection, it's so big to them. And then especially when this offensive line starts breaking down, then it's even more of a reason to have a running back there that you can trust to protect Matthew Stafford. And this offensive line right now is absolutely decimated. Awful shape. I mean, they've lost just about their entire offensive line, mainly through injuries. And there's also one suspension that is active right now. It's a mess. It's going to be real tough sledding for this backfield. Whoever's back there. Man, I mean, Sean McVay really kind of set it up perfectly for this season. You heard me talk about it before, how he saw all the linebacking cores in the NFL get smaller, and he said, all right, we're going to beef up our offensive line, and we're just going to bully people on the ground. Well, that dream is now temporarily dead because you're playing with a bunch of backups on the offensive line now, and might get a little bit ugly there. Might get a little bit ugly. Tennessee Titans. Yeah. Let's talk about this backfield here. People got pretty upset by the Tyjae Spears usage in this game. They said, now hold on one dang second here, because I remember head coach Brian Callahan saying that these running backs were 1A and 1B. That these running backs are interchangeable. And yet Tony Pollard played 61% of offensive snaps. Tyjae Spears played 45% of offensive snaps. Okay, well, all right, first of all, 45% of offensive snaps, that's like fairly close-ish to 1A and 1B. But the touches and the opportunities were not. Tony Pollard, 19 touches on 20 opportunities. And Tyjae Spears, 8 touches on 8 opportunities. Now, Callahan said all those things about 1A, 1B, interchangeable. He also said that at times we are going to ride the hot hand in games. A guy gets rolling, we're going to keep giving him the ball. And that's what happened with Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard looked good. He looked like old Tony Pollard that had juice in Dallas. The Tony Pollard that we saw this preseason, where we thought, oh, okay, TP. It's going to be like that. You got the juice back. All right. So they hot-handed it there. And here's Callahan this week talking about that running back rotation.
With the running backs and the distribution of touches, I think Pollard had 16 carries, Spears had 5 or something like that. Was that just like going with the hot hand? Is that how you wanted it entering that game, or what was behind it?
No, I think Tony ran the ball well. He was doing a nice job. I'd like to get more for Tyjae. I'd like to get him going a little bit more. We can make that division of labor probably a little closer to equal. I think at the end of the day, Tyjae found his way onto the field a little more on some of the third downs. But, yeah, I would like that to be a little more even and for Tyjae to get a little more work too. I regret that part of it.
He regrets that part of it. Yeah, I mean, we don't have reliability data for brand new head coach Brian Callahan. But everything that he said in the offseason does still line up here. Tyjae Spears, got a good deal of snaps. It's not like he only saw 10, 20% of snaps in this game. And they rode the hot hand, just like Callahan said that they would do at times. So let's not freak out over one game when you're talking about like hot hand, 1A, 1B. That is something that we need a large sample size for. Okay. All right, let's talk about the big running back situation going on right now. That is in San Francisco. Surprise inactive before the game in terms of people weren't expecting it, which I guess is what a surprise is. Christian McCaffrey was limited in practice. He was listed as questionable. He said that there was no doubt in his mind that he would play. And then hours before the game, it's announced he's inactive. He's not playing. Jordan Mason smashes in this game. Ton of touches. And just rolls. Just absolutely steamrolls the New York Jets on the ground. 28 carries for 147 yards and a touchdown. Also had a 5-yard reception. Incredible stuff. And then, I'll just play you this clip from after the game. You've probably seen it. They asked him when he found out he was going to start. And this opened up a real Pandora's box.
When did you find out that you were going to be starting? When I found out, maybe Friday night, something like that. I was always prepared.
Okay, maybe Friday night, something like that. And then everyone said, "Oh, well, hold on a second. You didn't announce Christian McCaffrey was out until a couple hours before the game." What did head coach Kyle Shanahan have to say about that?
Jordan said after the game that he was told on Friday night he was going to start. When did Christian start feeling awry?
I never told Jordan he was going to start. Told him he had to be ready a bunch, but that might have been Bobby or somebody trying to pump him up. But I knew he was going to have to play a lot. I told him that he was going to have to, it wasn't going to be like usual. It was going to be a number 2 back that was splitting a lot of the time. But no, he didn't know he for sure was doing that till today.
Did Christian have some sort of setback on Friday? Is that?
No, he didn't have a setback. I mean, it was on and off throughout the week. He was able to practice throughout the week. Just it was always bothering him to a degree, and sometimes it goes away, sometimes it comes back, and today was bothering him a little too much to where we didn't feel good about it.
Says I didn't tell him he was starting. I told him be ready for a lot of carries. Might have to get a lot of work. Be ready. What's the truth here? I mean, we may never truly know exactly what was said. We just might never know. But I think you do have to look at the Christian McCaffrey stuff of what he was saying, how he was feeling, what was going to happen. He said there was no doubt in his mind that he was going to play. I'm sure they did tell Jordan Mason, hey, this is a situation with Christian. Be ready. And maybe that was misinterpreted it as I'm going to start. Be ready? Okay. I'm going to be the starter. We don't know. I mean, I understand piling on Kyle Shanahan here, but someone asked me how I was going to grade this, and the way that we grade things is we need concrete evidence of, all right, this is what the coach said, this is how it turned out. Can't go off of a report here, or, a player saying, maybe I think it was Friday night that I was told. Yeah. Need some concrete evidence. Give you another clip here from Kyle Shanahan. And this is in the postgame presser as well. And there's a report that Christian McCaffrey probably not going to play in week 2. And here was Shanahan's response.
There was a report that Christian probably wouldn't play against Minnesota just because it's a short weekend on turf. You're saying?
I'm saying it's amazing. That person must be God, because we just found out he wasn't playing today, and I have no idea how he's going to feel tomorrow or the next day. I thought he was playing this whole week until today, so I don't know. Who knows that he's not playing next week? So.
I know people are super upset, but it's not like the things that are being said don't make sense. This is an injury that is kind of off and on nagging Christian McCaffrey. This is someone who knows his body really, really well. And, when he's feeling that kind of stuff, he'll take himself out of practice. He'll tell them what's going on. And this is a guy who's fought through some really tough injuries. And last year, I think it was with the oblique, people thought there's no way Christian McCaffrey is playing with this injury that he has right now. And he suited up. So perfectly reasonable to think, okay, he's limited in practice, he's questionable, but this guy's played through so much stuff before. Maybe he'll be ready. Maybe he'll feel good enough for the opener. And he did not. He did not feel good enough for the opener. Also, really interesting thing I want to point out from Kyle Shanahan's press conference is that he was asked, hey, with Jordan Mason's performance tonight, how well he did, how great he looked, does that kind of take some of the pressure off of bringing Christian McCaffrey back? And Kyle Shanahan said, no, we want Christian back. Jordan played well, did a phenomenal job for us, but when Christian's ready, we want him to play. But this whole thing of Kyle Shanahan telling Jordan Mason, be ready for a lot of carries, be ready for work. You'd imagine that will apply to the first game that when Christian McCaffrey does come back. So that's something that I would keep in mind. Then on Tuesday, Shanahan called McCaffrey day to day, and that is actionable coach speak. So the clock is now ticking on that. And this is the way that is graded. When a coach, just to give you a little insight here, when a coach calls a player day to day, if that player plays that week, then, okay, it's graded as true. It's reliable. If they miss that current week, but they play the next week, that is a gray area, because day to day, theoretically, right, when they're saying it that week, usually that game is 4, 5, 6 days out. So, possibility that on the 7th day or whatever, 6th day, they could have come back. We give them a little leeway there. If they miss 2 games, though, That's a strike, and it is weighted as such, depending on, how long it takes them to come back. Sometimes with Zach Taylor, call in Joe Mixon day to day, and that turned into weeks and months. And of course, that is going to be graded a little more harshly. But Shanahan called McCaffrey day to day. He has an 85% reliability rating on injury coach speak. And Shanahan has applied this day-to-day label to CMC before. He did it in November 2022 for knee irritation. He did it last year in October for that oblique injury. McCaffrey suited up. In both instances, I expect McCaffrey back by week 3 with a possibility of him playing in week 2. Would it be the smartest thing for them to bring him back in week 2? Probably not. Maybe not even week 3. Like if I'm a head coach and I'm playing against the Vikings and the Rams, and my superstar running back is dealing with an injury of this nature, and Jordan Mason just had the performance that he had, I'm probably saying, you know what, we're good for a while we play these cupcake-ish team. Not going to call them cupcakes, cupcake-ish teams. But McCaffrey wants to play. Shanahan wants him back. Yeah, sure, Jordan Mason, most carries ever by a Shanahan running back, churned out a ton of yards, was key to our victory, but he wants CMC back, man. And you know what? We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. That wraps up running backs. Time to talk some wide receivers. And why not start with Detroit wide receiver Jameson Williams? Here's Dan Campbell.
You talked about the expectations of Jameson Williams and how impressed you guys have been all camp. Just to come in here, have a couple big plays, 121 yards, a touchdown. Just how happy are you for him to get off to that kind of start?
Yeah, listen, expected him to play pretty good, to play better. And he showed up. I mean, that was a big game, to be able to catch some of these and go through it. And the best part of it was he didn't even play his best ball. There's still so much to clean up. But it also shows the work that he's put in, and he is improving, and he's an improved player, and he wants it, man, and he keeps working on it, and he keeps taking these steps. So as long as he keeps doing it and keeps making plays, he's just going to continue to get better. So, yeah, I'm proud of him. I'm proud of where he's at, but he's got so much room to continue to grow.
5 catches on 9 targets for 121 yards and a touchdown. Added a 13-yard rush as well. And Dan Campbell says he's going to keep getting better. This drumbeat started last October. And we saw Jameson Williams start to ascend after those comments in October. And then all throughout this offseason, getting these quotes from Dan Campbell of he's pushing to be a full-time starter, and then talking about him like, yeah, this guy's locked in. He's wide receiver 2. And then saying most improved player. This guy's a man on a mission. Everyone said, no. Jameson Williams, he's a bum. Not going to happen. He's the 4th receiving option on this team. How could you draft him? Don't believe this. Well, maybe you should believe Dan Campbell when he speaks. Because when Jameson Williams was not doing well, when he was on a trajectory to not perform, Dan Campbell told us that stuff. So we need to keep working, man. He just needs to get better. Got to keep working with him. And then when the comments became more glowing and he said we need to find ways to get this guy involved, they found ways to get him involved. It's not that hard with Dan Campbell. Just listen to what he said. Just believe him, man. He's telling you the truth. Why? Why would you fade that? And let's remember, context is very important. There's a difference between Jameson Williams in year 3 and Jalen Tolbert in year 3. Jalen Tolbert has been healthy his NFL career. He's been on the field, and he hasn't earned targets. Jameson Williams came into the league with an injury that kept him out for a lot of the season. Misses that training camp in his rookie year. And then in year 2 has the gambling suspension, out for more games. These guys need time on task. They need to get on the field. And now Jameson Williams has done that, and he's taken off. I tried to tell you guys, man. I tried to tell you guys, and I did. I did tell you guys, okay? And a lot of you listen, and I appreciate that because you know that Dan Campbell tells the truth. He's very blunt and honest. If he's asked about a guy and he doesn't think that this guy is going to be a contributor, he will tell you that. And there are differences in the way that he talks about certain players that he loves and expects to produce, and then players who, hey, this guy's not going to see much action. This guy is on the verge of getting cut. Not that hard of a game with Dan Campbell. Just listen to what he says. Just follow that. Okay? Come on. Washington Commanders. Here is their head coach, Dan Quinn, talking about rookie Luke McCaffrey.
With regards to the receivers, we talked to you the other day a little bit about that, but I guess with like Luke McCaffrey in particular, how do you kind of feel that he's kind of fitting into that group? Because he obviously played, I think, the second most snaps behind Terry, and it looked like he was being used in that way all summer. So where do you kind of think he hit him and where he kind of fits in right now?
I think we're seeing it go like this, and so that's why more reps and more playing time to go. We've really seen kind of that confidence grow, especially inside in the slot, where he can use some of that strength and work guys through. So, yeah, I just kind of can see his development continue to grow, and that's going to happen. With the younger players, they got to get into the fight, and that's where you grow. And the hard part about that, there are some mistakes at times, but you have to be, as a coach, willing to go through that, knowing that on the other end of that is the development, is the success. And so I was really pleased to see what Luke had, in the first performance for him.
Yeah, he said it's going up. He made that little plane taking off gesture for the audio listener. Luke McCaffrey logged the second most snaps by a wide receiver for the Commanders in this game. He was on the field for 61% of offensive snaps. This is someone that you're going to want to keep an eye on. How productive this Washington offense becomes throughout the season. Bit of a mystery right now. A lot of running from Jaden Daniels in that first game. Quinn talked about this week of, yeah, we still want these rollouts from Jaden, but we'd like for some more of those to end in passes. So that's going to be a little bit more of a focus for them, I believe. But hey, those legs keep the chains moving. They keep the offense on the field. That leads to more plays for the offense. If Luke McCaffrey is available in your league, maybe you should go pick that guy up. Playing a lot of snaps, going to be involved. He's a rookie. and he's already seeing a lot of snaps right now. So he's just going to get better. Just going to get better. Head over to Cincinnati. T. Higgins was out for the first game with a hamstring injury. And Jermaine Burton, their rookie wide receiver, did not play many snaps in this game at all. And reporters were very curious if T. Higgins misses week 2, will Jermaine Burton see more than the 4 snaps he got in the opener? Here is what Zach Taylor had to say.
If T can't go, is it realistic to think Jermaine Burton could see more snaps, or is he still not where you need him to be?
No, I think Jermaine has made progress and done things he needs to do to continue to grow, like any rookie. I mean, you look at Chuck and Andre last year, and it took them a while to find their role, and it's not an easy system. We try to put people in opportunities where they can continue to grow and have confidence, but outside of picking a receiver with the 5th overall pick and the 33rd overall pick, it's not easy to walk in here and immediately be able to play to your full potential. And so I think he's going through a process just like all of our other rookies we've drafted have gone through, and are continuing to grow and gain confidence and earn our confidence, and those opportunities will continue to come.
Okay, lines up a little bit, with their rookie receivers kind of getting brought along a little more slowly. I mean, even T. Higgins, his rookie season, his snap percentage, first few games, 22%, 65%, 79, 57, and then he hits 81, 81, 84, 78, 85. I mean, I could keep rolling, but I'm not. You get the picture, all right? You get the picture. Now is Jermaine Burton, T. Higgins? Probably not. And they do like Andre Yosavash and Charlie Jones and Trenton Irwin. But when it comes to talent, Jermaine Burton, pretty talented. When can they get him on the field? They were very excited when they drafted him. Zach Taylor pounding the table. Yes, we got him. We got him. Can't wait to play him 4 snaps in week 1, this guy that we just got. Hopefully things are looking up for Jermaine Burton. But hey, say it with me. We'll see. One more wide receiver clip for you here. Oh, it's a good one. We're playing the hits now. Sean Payton asked if wide receiver Marvin Mims is going to see more action than the 12 snaps he saw in the opener.
Sean, Marvin Mims only had 12 offensive snaps against Seattle. Was that matchup driven?
No, look, it's part of the challenges when we have multiple receiver groups. Obviously, we anticipate him getting more than just 12. And, a lot of it depends on how much of the game we're playing in nickel or on offense, the 3 receiver sets or base sets. So that can vary. But I think you'll see his pitch count week to week, depending on the team we're playing, go up.
Fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me 10 times? Yeah. Shame on all of us. I want to read you this quote from Sean Payton on February 27th, 2024. I really think the only thing that stopped his progress as a receiver was us. I think his progress was hampered a little bit more with the depth in the room and what we were able to do, and sometimes trying to balance that out. I think we'll see that expand. It has not. Last season, during their bye week, they asked Sean Payton about Marvin Mims. He said, "I'm looking at my notepad. His number is on it." So we just got to get him more touches. Got to get him involved. Marvin Mims averaged 3 opportunities per game after that. I mean, this guy is such a joke with this Marvin Mims talk. Oh, we got to get him. We got to get him more involved. My brother, who is in charge of that, I believe that would be the head coach, I think. But now with this, like, yeah, let's get him more involved. We're also getting some negative stuff along with it, where he says, this time he says, I think you'll see his pitch count week to week, depending on the team we're playing, go up. So it's very sensitive to game plan and who they're playing against. Not good. Sean Payton, by the way, has a 50% reliability rating on usage and workload coach speak. So when he says that we're going to get Marvin Mims more involved, yeah, probably don't believe it. It is tough when the coaches who have a bad reliability rating on things say, yeah, this is going to happen. Because like we get a coach like Dan Campbell, higher reliability rating, says something will happen. We can say, okay, we'll believe it. We'll act on it. And, good to go. But when it's a coach with a low reliability rating, then, it doesn't mean that this is not going to happen. It just means we can't trust this person. And clearly we cannot trust Sean Payton on Marvin Mims' usage. That wraps up running backs. Let's do some tight ends. Well, one tight end. We have one tight end clip. It is Bears head coach Matt Eberflus talking about Cole Kmet, who has seen much less usage than we were all expecting.
Can I get more snaps in the game? Was that just kind of an oversight? Was that part of the plan?
Yeah,
I've seen him only less than 50%. So
yeah. Yes, oversight, not part of the plan. I don't know about all that. I would say that it's situationally, there's we had 11 personnel where he was in, and then when G was in, so it was the way the rotation happened. Certainly, do we want to get Cole involved in the game plan more in terms of catches and point of attack blocking and all those things? Yes, we do. But again, we're looking for our formula for success on offense, and again, that's going to take a little bit of time in terms of distributing the ball to the skill more evenly, and we're working to do that this week.
Cole Kmet played 48% of offensive snaps. Gerald Everett played 61% of offensive snaps. Folks, it might be Jover for Cole Kmet, who was being drafted as, I believe, the tight end 15 in fantasy. Rough stuff. Okay, that does it. That's it. Finito. El finito. Fin. Guys, I struggle so much with French pronunciation for someone who was born in France. Yikes. But yeah, that's it. Find us on Twitter at Coach Speak Index. Growing big time. Also growing big time on the Discord, where I put notes from every head coach, offensive coordinator, general manager, press conference in there all throughout the day. Ton of stuff, ton of crucial info that is not going on the Twitter. You're not, and you're really not finding it on Twitter from anybody. Everyone wondering about this tush push or what's going on with it. And we had some really good insight from Nick Sirianni and Kellen Moore in there that, people were just like not aware of. And I'll just tell you. Fine. I'll just tell you. I'll just give it to you for free. they're going to keep doing the tush push. They think it's still a great weapon for them. They basically blame the footing on the field there in Brazil for, not being completely successful with the tush push. So it sounds like they're going to keep doing it, and the field played a bit of a factor on last Friday night. Anyway, yeah, check us out online. Get in that Discord. Get all this crucial info. If you're playing fantasy for money, it will highly benefit you to know all this stuff and get these notifications as I post them in all these different team threads. You know the deal with this video. Like and comment and do finger guns at it. Pa, 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 whenever it comes up for you. And, just comment hashtag banger time, whatever. Or if you have thoughts about any of these things, I'd like to hear them. Let's hear it. And, man, if you could just subscribe, that'd be really cool, man. That'd be really cool. Here's what you do. You subscribe, and then you go out to a restaurant or a bar or whatever. Wear your sunglasses, because you're cool as hell, brother or sister. You're cool as hell. All right. Sarah, take us out.